Welcome home, all. We are officially at the end of the month, almost anyway. July 30, 2026, out of the summer. Talked about that. Hope your summer has been good. Hope you've enjoyed what you can of it. Um, and as I've been saying for a number of weeks on air as we finish up, and definitely on the Thursdays for sure, as you go into your weekend, I say it, and it isn't like it's not like exactly scoring us points or more views or anything, but I say the things because I mean them. And for those that watch and listen to the show, you're not going to find yourself wondering if the things that I'm saying are not meaningful for me, as a host or as someone on a microphone on a screen, because I do mean them, and I don't say them because there's an ulterior motive other than I believe in the things that I'm speaking. And my point to that and to you over your summer, and as I've been saying again for the last number of weeks, if not all of the summer, is I'm hoping that you are taking time to enjoy and appreciate your family, your friends, your loved ones, the people around you that you care for, that you give a damn about. I had a conversation with someone today, shall remain nameless for now, but suffice to say, reminded me and reminded us together of the importance of doing the things and saying the things to people that matter to you before they're gone and before they are out of your life. And that's important. And listen, and that is a human condition. That is a thing that we all do, some more than others, but that it does happen or does come into play for everybody as you live a life and as you get further into that life. And then maybe on the back end if you're older. Now, I'm not ancient, but I'm not young. And I've made a concerted effort, as I shared with the person earlier today, that over the last 3, 4, 5 years, at least since the pandemic for sure, and I'm going to sidebar here for a second, but it is meaningful and it is important to share this with you. Over the last 5 years since the pandemic in 2020 to now, 6 years, I have done a lot, spent a lot of time and money to, I would say, reconnect or connect with aspects of my dad's family in particular. Because for those of you that know or have been, our listeners normal, I lost my pop when I was young, when I was a boy. And we lost a big component of what his family was, as he was a principal mover and a most important person in that family. He was the oldest son. And aside from that, he was the one that everybody gravitated toward, everybody listened to, everybody wanted to be around, everybody spent time with, they enjoyed him. He was enjoyable. Some of my most important memories of my dad with and in groups, family, friends, etc., cutting up, a cow or a hog and cooking, for the family in the backyard, cutting the animal's throat and making me drink the blood. True story. And the fact that he was kind of the center of attention, and I think the point is, and this wasn't the thought for tonight, but it's important. If not for me, then for you, but as a whole, he centered and diffused away negatives. So if there was a tío or a prima or a family member or a friend that didn't like another, or there were issues, there were problems, as there are in any family, by the way, my dad always found a way to make sure that those things did not escalate at that time or become more because he did something or just inserted himself into process or in the middle of it, and it went away. And it didn't rear its ugly head that way with him. But the point is, for me, back to you here, is I've taken that time and energy to spend time with my dad's family because I lost that family for a long time, for decades, as I was growing up and my mom had to raise us on her own and survive. And just, we just didn't have a lot of ability to go beyond that. And my family was mostly from Southern Cal, Indio and Coachella. And we moved back here to Fresno, Central California after my dad died. So I was just not around them. But again, I've made my effort and my point with my dad's family and my mom's family, both, to spend some time with family members that are older now and that may not be here longer. Last point here, my Uncle Ernie died a few years ago, about a year and a half ago, almost two, I think. And I knew he was getting close to there. And he's in this area. He was in this area. And I made a point to go see him one last time and spend time with him. I sat on the couch with him, and he was not the same Theo Ernie that he used to be. Big, strong, badass son of a bitch. I mean, he was something. But he was depleted, diminished, small, because of the damage his body had suffered, and he was on his way to being gone, and he ends up dying about a week later. But he was still lucid enough and able enough for me to sit on the couch with him and talk about the times when our families would spend together, him and my dad when I was little, and my cousin Shell, his daughter, was my age. So we did things together, and we were a tight family that way. Anyway, the point is that I made an effort to go do that, and I'll never forget it because it was an awesome couple hours get to spend with my Theo, knowing that he didn't have much longer, but we got to talk about some cool stuff and remind and, remember. And, the point was that, as I said to the person earlier today, I had to, for my own process, my own person, to at least know that I gave my best effort. And now to show to my listener, my audience, my viewer, it is important that if not for another, if not for someone else, then for yourself, do the things necessary to spend time, spend energy, spend thought and heart with the people around you, those you love, your family members, your friends, etc., so that you did your part, that you made your effort, that years didn't go by and you didn't try, and someone dies or passes or they're not around anymore, and then you end up having regret or a loss that you will never get back. And so when I say on air to spend time, spend energy on the people you love or the people you care for, the people that are with you over a summer, not to get too caught up in the garbage that goes on the political level, nationally, et cetera, but to reinforce yourself, reinforce your humanity, reinforce your beliefs, your principles in the people that you love and you care for. People of like mind that give a damn about you. Spend time, spend energy, make that effort to do that. It is important. Again, if not for anyone else, and this isn't selfish, by the way, but it's self-affirming and it's self-strengthening. I'm sure many people you understand, or you've heard the term, if you can't help others if you can't help yourself, right? If you're going to be strong for other people, you have to be strong. I pride myself on that. I am strong for other people because I am strong, but I do things to make myself strong, not selfishly, but self-strengthening, self-affirming, self-building. And so that is my self-building, I don't want to say a tip, but my advice to you is, again, we're almost out of the summer. I genuinely, honestly, meaningfully hope that you spent time and energy on the people that care for you, that you care for, and that matter to you. as we, get into a fall and get started on other things. Okay. A little bit of digression, but I mean, it is, the things we've been talking about, and I'm not going to stop talking that way about those things, by the way. I'll still tell you to be careful, going off into your weekend when we finish up on a show on a Thursday night. Be mindful of the other. It's not always you that does something. It might be an accidental thing on the part of somebody else that might cause you harm or injury, if not physical, psychological, or intellectual, whatever. But just be mindful, that way. And again, before you know it, people are gone. Before you know it, people are out of your life. And I don't mean even death. Last point to hear. I have 2 kids. Not kids anymore, and they don't live with me anymore. Obviously, they've grown up, and I'm proud of them. They do incredible things. They're gifted, talented, crazy good, crazy bright, accomplished. But they live in Boston and they live in New York, respectively. So I don't see them a lot. Best I can do is some phone calls, right? We can talk on the phone. But yeah, I'm mindful of the things that you have and you do not have. And that's my point to you tonight. If you have your kids with you, around you, young or old, be thankful, because it could be another way, right? And for the record, I'm not regretting. It's part of life, right? It is what it is. But my point is, be thankful and respectful and mindful of the things that you do have. And that was quite literally the gist and the point of the conversation I had with person that I mentioned earlier today in a conversation. And she reminded me of some of those things, and I reminded her about some things too. And it was a great conversation because these things matter. So I've been saying, like, we're going to begin scaling down back in terms of time. I'm going to condense and get stronger in our points and our issues. And even for the record, this is 10, 12 minutes into the show, but nothing that I said, nothing that I've talked about is superfluous or unmeaningful. They're important. And so the things that I say, or the things that I spend my energy and time on air for, have to be potent and strong, condensed into their most concrete form. And so as I finish up this opening segment tonight, the things that I've said tonight are extremely important to everybody, by the way, not just a person or someone in particular, but to anybody. If you're human, these things are important to you, right? So condensed, strong, etc. And so tonight we'll talk. We've got a couple things, 2 things, and then we'll be done, and then move on, and we go off into the weekend, and we start up again. And everything's good as far as I know. I think we're all good for next week, Tuesday, Thursday.
Wednesday, Thursday.
Is it next week?
Yeah, no. Wednesday, Thursday. I couldn't get Tuesday.
Okay,
so next week, Wednesday, Thursday.
Okay, so next week we will have a little change then. Okay, so next week it'll be Wednesday, Thursday. I'll figure that out. But again, for the most part, twice a week, get our business done, and then you go off into your weekend and have a good week, live your good life, and do good things, right? But be mindful of the energy and the information that you take in. And I'll say this: if I do nothing else with this show, this time, Supermax Nation, it's to provide you with information, provide you with intelligence, so that you can sift through and parse through the garbage that you're bombarded with almost on a daily basis, a minute by minute basis, in the form of all aspects of media, social media, etc. That is not always vetted out. We had that talk about a few weeks ago, right? That the FCC has no purview over some podcast host that you listen to every day. They can say whatever the hell they want, even if it's a lie. So I make a concerted effort, a hard, strong effort to not do that, not be that, and to prepare you. A prepared mind, a strong mind, an intellectually capable mind will not be bamboozled and bullshitted. That's the gist of it. That's the point of it. It's hard to get conned when you're aware of a con. It's hard to be conned when you're too smart to fall for the bullshit that someone's spitting to you. Okay? And as I say that, as I finish up this first portion of the show, clearly, America, we need some work on that end. Clearly, America. Okay. I've been saying now for a while, regarding this Trumpstein war, and I said it early and often. And for the record, I didn't put it in the title, but as far as I think as of today, we are at Trumpstein war day 153. I might be off a day or two there, but I'm pretty sure that's close, or it, exactly. And again, he told you, he told us, he told the American people this would be quick, easy. He said that we won it on the first night. Obviously not, because he lies. And you just have to be strong enough to tell his stupid people that they don't know what the hell they're talking about because they lie. But I've been saying since then, early on, that there are problems here that are created or have been created because of what he did, how he did it, and how he has conducted this war. And I've been saying over the last handful of weeks, if not the last month, that it is a quagmire. I've even explained that a little bit on air. It is military quicksand. We're in, and it's going to be hard to get out. Get the reference. There are additional problems arising nearly by the second, by the day, in terms of our geopolitical framework, our geopolitical policies and positions. Our force posture has been altered because the inordinate amount of time and energy that we are spending in that particular theater, CENTCOM, Central Command, the Middle East. And I've been saying for a number of weeks, if not a number of months, it's getting, or can, better yet, even more specific and more harder and defined. It is not just getting worse. It can only get worse, ladies and gentlemen. I'm leaving no room for equivocation or the possibility of altering or waffling. I'm not saying, oh, I think it's going to get worse. No, I've been saying it is going to get worse. It can only get worse based on what I've seen, based on the method and the manner of how we've conducted this war and the rationale behind it that has shifted and altered a million times from the beginning. And I think I said this last show, Marco Rubio, I want that going down in history, that stupid statement. Basically, paraphrasing here, but we had to attack Iran because they were going to attack Israel. That was a rationale. He said it. So it can only, no wiggle room here. It can only get worse. It can only get worse. And hence the need for tonight's show and for what I'm going to talk to you about today. As of today, as of the last number of days, last handful of days, this Trumpstein war is spreading. It is spreading. And when I say spreading, obviously I mean in the geographic sense, but I also mean in the geopolitical sense. What am I meaning? Geographically, obviously, okay, so we attacked some spots. We bombed the hell out of Iran. Iran responds by hitting something outside of Iran. We respond to that, i.e. the Strait of Hormuz, that's not physically Iran. It's outside of Iran physically, but it's part of the war now. So geographically, yes, and geopolitically, meaning now we have other parts of the region, other countries in the region involved that were not involved to begin with, that were not part of this at the beginning. So let's get down to some specifics for you. now that we have, more data over the last handful of weeks or a handful of days specifically, obviously since his incredible negotiating skills, the president, and his incredible negotiating and incredible dealing that was going to end this war and we were going to be fine. And now, oil drops and, food drops and we can have a better economy instead of spending money over there, et cetera. And long story short, it's escalated and it's spreading. Okay. So as of yesterday, July 29, the United States and Saudi Arabia jointly struck Iran-backed armed groups in Iraq on Wednesday. So put a pin on this for a second. The United States and Saudi Arabia. And ladies and gentlemen, if you watch my show, if you've listened to me for any amount of time, you know what I'm going to say before I move on. The United States and Saudi Arabia, the same country that 15 of the 19 9/11 attackers of the United States were from. Saudi Arabian nationals, Saudi Arabian people. That same Saudi Arabia that had 15 people from their country pull off 9/11 and kill Americans. Okay, that same Saudi Arabia that Donald Trump is now negotiating a deal for nuclear capability. Yeah, they're going to say, oh, it's just civilian. Come on, you're enriching uranium. It isn't just for civilian purposes. If you're believing that, then yeah, you are in the damn cult and you're stupid. So the United States and Saudi Arabia. Oh, yeah, the Saudi Arabia that gave Jared Kushner, his son-in-law, $2 billion. Billion, ladies and gentlemen, with a B. Yes, I can go on and on about Saudi Arabia. So United States and Saudi Arabia jointly struck Iran-backed armed groups, and here it is again, Iran-backed armed groups in Iraq on Wednesday. So Saudi Arabia now is involved militarily, actively conducting military operations with us to attack Iran-backed groups, not even Iranians, but Iran-backed groups in Iraq, a different country. Hence the point of me stating to you that it is spreading. We're including more countries, and we're attacking and fighting in more countries. It is spreading. The first U.S. airstrikes in the Middle East since Donald Trump suspended the U.S. bombing campaign against Iran last week. Iran said it had fired on U.S. bases in Jordan. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, another country. You probably should pull up a map of the Middle East and get familiar if you don't know them already. And I'm not being, not being an ass here. I'm just being informative, and I genuinely want you to know what I'm talking about here and the area, okay? Because Jordan is not close to Iran. It is far to the west. I can't specifically give you I'd have to pull up the miles, right? But Jordan is close to the Mediterranean in Israel, not close to Iran. But it has fired on bases that we have with U.S. soldiers in Jordan, another country, not in their backyard, but another country in the region. So those are just two, and I'm not done here. So we have military activity, military conduct, attacks, one way or the other, from us to them, them to us, now in Iraq, the largest country in the Middle East, and Jordan, far to the west of Iran, but because we have bases there, we were attacked. And in addition, of course, firing at ships in the Strait of Hormuz, because that's not going to end anytime soon. You've heard plenty on that. Most media sources cover that. And so Trump has promised more strikes against Iran. What a surprise. The other one A few days ago, let me pull that up for you. I love going through all these things and looking and reading the different pieces. So, in addition to those countries that are now included, either because we are conducting operations or attacking in their country, or in the case of Saudi Arabia, they are part of it now. They are working, with us in that fashion because it's in their interest, by the way. They want to see Iran diminish. They want to see the United States do its dirty work for them and use our military and our soldiers to attack Iran and run the risk so that they can benefit Saudi Arabia. Saudi Arabia likes using the United States. They like us attacking Iran because they don't have to do it themselves. If they do, it's because we're leading and they get to piggyback and benefit from it. And we're stupid enough to allow it. We're stupid enough to do the dirty work for them, is my point. Pull this up. 1 second. I'll give you this last one. Egypt. Drone strikes at Egypt's Mediterranean port of Damietta. It ended up sparking fires on 2 natural gas vessels Wednesday in what appears to be the first time that Egypt has been targeted. The origin of the strike remains unknown, but Iran's Houthi allies, you probably heard that word or term before describing the group, have targeted ships in the Red Sea, not the Persian Gulf, but the Red Sea on the other side, to the west and on the other side. So now we have activity, and I know I've brought that up, that the Houthis are backed by Iran. They have attacked Yemenis, another country in the Middle East, in the Gulf region. And now it's, and I want you to, again, I need to, we're going to need to eventually get to that because I need to show you visuals too. If I had the capability, I'd just pull up a map and then I would show you on the map. But bear with me for a second, please. And then do some work on your own to pull up a map. It's simple. You could pull it up on your phone, look on the phone, right? So Egypt is really far away from Iran, again to the west, and probably the furthest country out that there has been any type of military activity to date or to this point. So Egypt has been struck by drones. And now, if you're Egypt, now you're involved, you're engaged, and you're probably going to have to respond or retaliate or do something. And so, and let's just do this, and let me wrap this point real nice and tight for you. In just this handful, this is all over the last handful of days, by the way. Okay, this is just over the last few days. And the reason why I said to you earlier, much earlier, weeks ago, a few months ago, this can only get worse. This idiot doesn't know what the hell he's doing. This idiot doesn't understand that because he picked a fight and started a war in the Middle East, because he wants to draw attention away from the fact that the Epstein files are still not released, by the way, still not released. Pedophile protection president #1. It is creating problems in this region that we do not need to exacerbate or increase more than we already have over the last 25 years. So just off of what I've said to you tonight and just off of what I've seen and you've seen, if you haven't been expressly intent and concentrated on just the war in the Middle East and this region, I've already said to you real simply, Saudi Arabia is conducting military activity with us. They're active and engaged now in this war. We have conducted those operations in Iraq, the country that we got out of a little while ago, and attacked some groups in Iraq, another country, not a Middle Eastern country. Houthi rebels in Yemen and on that side of the Persian Gulf, the Arabian Peninsula, have attacked Yemeni troops, another country. Jordan has been hit. Our bases in Jordan have been hit, another country. And now Egypt has been hit by drone strikes. And be mindful here and be really, really considerate in what I'm going to say next. I have no emotion as I make statements regarding this stuff, meaning I don't want to feel good or bad. I don't want to want one thing or another. I'm simply giving you data and a very, very cold, calculated assessment based on what we see in front of us right now, in evidence, in fact, in real time, as it is happening. So again, I've named at least 5 differing countries that are engaged or involved either because things are happening in their country or they're involved in attacking other countries. Egypt is now a part. They're going to have to be in some way or the other. And as I say that, if, and this is my point as to the cold and the calculated assessment, as I'm speaking to you right now, it's kind of popped up a while ago, but I'm being more confirmed in my thought on it now, and I'm going to give you that thought right here. My thought, my assessment is, on the part of Iran, it is smart for them, like I said, cold, no emotion, just a simple strategic assessment, a tactical assessment. It is smart of them to draw in or include or to rile up and to anger or exacerbate problems in the region with other countries in the region. In essence, what they're doing is they're creating a whole bunch of little forest fires all over the place. Because what it does is it draws and saps energy. It draws and saps and requires time, energy, money, and a response, a military response of some kind, either from that country or, and here it comes, or from the United States, us. Because we started this, be clear. And even a Trump ass-kissing, sycophantic, nutcase cult member cannot deny that Donald Trump started this war. And because he started this war, we are obligated and responsible for a lot of what comes from it in terms of attacks. Because those other countries, and I'll say it point blank, you don't think Egypt is not on the phone with Hegseth or Donald Trump right now? We have bases in Jordan. Jordan is a country. If we are attacked in Jordan, then by extension, Jordan is attacked. You think they're not having a conversation with the President of the United States as to why their country is being attacked, i.e. our bases? Saudi Arabia has already had that conversation with them, and Trump is placating them and kissing their ass. So all of this is, and I could be wrong. I don't think so. I could be wrong, but it is strategic and it is tactical. It is maneuvering. If I'm Iran, if I'm making those decisions, I want to cause problems all over the region, because who is to blame by those other countries? There is only one that can be blamed. It is the United States, because we started the war. So everything that comes from this war is attached to and a responsibility of these United States. That's the problem. And that's why I've said it's a quagmire. That's why I've said it can only get worse. That is why I've said this cannot go to a good place for us overall, over time. And I'm firm and resolved in that. You can argue and you can make excuses, or you can find a rationale that can sound good or you think is a good thing. Oh, we're going to stop them from getting nuclear capability. For the record, has that happened? No. Do I know that's going to happen? No, I do not. And no one in their right mind that is actually rational and thoughtful and serious and understanding of that region can tell me with 100% certainty that we're going to make sure that Iran has no nuclear capability going forward. No one's going to tell me that. No one can prove that. It's a hope in a pipe dream. And therein lies the issue and the problem. Because it is a hope and a pipe dream, it is open-ended. And if you're staying with me, and if you're my Supermax Nation member, you see where this goes, what I'm doing to you right now. I'm telling you this is open-ended. I'm telling you this is not going to be done quick. It could never have been done quick. There was no way on God's green earth that this thing was going to be done overnight on the first night, and it wasn't. There is no way I felt it was going to be done in a month or two. And if those of you that have been with me understand and know, now you're beginning to see, now you're beginning to understand what I do to you. And I hope you like it. I hope you understand it. There's a reason I put numbers on the Trumpstein war, day whatever. Because I'm leading you down a road to show you that this thing is ongoing and it's not going to stop anytime soon. We got to 100, and I did a show that night, and I said 100 days. We're at 153. Is it going to be done tomorrow? No. Is it going to be done in a week? No. And we can keep escalating the number, and eventually I might have to say maybe. But for the most part, for right now, from what I see, from everything that I've assessed, this thing cannot be done in a week or two. Can't be done in a month. This is going to be months. And of course, with the open-ended possibility, and here's the rub for you, and I hope you understand what I'm doing to you. I'm leaving you prepared for the fact that this thing could be open-ended and it could go on for many months, if not a year or more, or two. And that's real. And you have to wrestle with that fact, and you have to acknowledge, you have to understand it, because everything that has happened so far, everything that we see, everything that we have seen to this point can only lead you in the direction of actually being intellectually honest and asking yourself, is this thing going to be done anytime soon? And the rhetorical, rational answer is no. No, not done anytime soon. And I'm going to say it again. If I'm Iran, tactically, strategically, yeah, I'm doing what I'm doing right now because it's going to cause the United States more problems. And the last point for tonight, I added in toward the back end, I said the Trumpstein war spreads. It has, it is, and spreading. Maybe I should have added the ing instead of S. Spreading, because that's open-ended and there's no definitive end to that. It is spreading. We can be off air this weekend. This will be my show for the last night of the week. We can come back next Tuesday and there may be, see how I'm doing that to you? There may be another country that we add to the list that I've just articulated tonight. There might be another country that we either end up in an attack or a fight with or for, another country that gets pulled into the combat, to the conflict, another country that gets military activity in it physically, us attacking, Iran attacking, etc. And as I'm saying all of that, you know that it's true, it's capable, it's plausible, it's possible. And again, probable that by next Tuesday, there might be another country added. So my point is spreading, not just spreads, but it is spreading with no end in sight, because I can't predict that there won't be more. I can only predict that I'm guessing that there will be more. Okay. And the quagmire escalates, meaning this only gets worse. It can only get worse. You know that old term, more money, more problems? More countries, more problems. That's really good. More countries, more problems. The more people you have involved, the more countries and administrations you have with their beliefs, their wants, their policies, their wants, their country's needs, the more you have involved, the more problems there are and the more escalation there has to be. The quagmire escalates. Egypt now, Jordan, Iraq, Yemen, Saudi Arabia. Let's just go on. We can go on. There's more. Remember that from tonight, if not for a laugh. More countries, more problems. Because that's the way it's going to be. If there are more countries involved, there will be more problems for the United States. And I don't mean more countries like, hey, we're a strong coalition with you, United States. We're going to help you. No. I'm telling you point blank. This isn't NATO, by the way. This isn't NATO. The countries in the Middle East that are coming to us, bitching and complaining about this war and its escalation and people getting hit in their own country, in their sovereign territory, they're not coming to offer help. They're coming to the United States to ask them, what the hell are you going to do about this? Yeah. I literally just thought of that as I'm seeing, like, more countries, more problems. That is the case. We've got more problems, ladies and gentlemen. More countries, more problems. Last point to it. I've already laid out for you. You're going to see more. I advise you to take a look over the weekend. See, just do this. Have your mind and your eye and your ear ready for the next country in the Middle East that is either pulled into this war on their side, our side, or that gets hit, or that military activity takes place in some country. Because there are other countries there that will be involved. And I'm going to guess, and I'm going to say, not even a guess, that they don't want. There are countries there that do not want any military activity. They don't want to be involved with this. They don't want to be involved with fighting with Iran. Some of them would like to see Iran get wiped out because Iran's the big bully in the region. But they don't want to do it directly. And again, that only lands one place. They want the United States to do that dirty work for them. And at this point in our history, we're stupid enough to do it because we have an idiot for a commander-in-chief with a wannabe badass tough guy as our Secretary of Defense. Yeah. Consider that. Consider that. I think we're good for tonight, but I gave you some specifics. I gave you some data points, specifically countries and the countries and the areas that this war has spread to, and that this Trumpstein war has escalated to. And last point for tonight, like I say, I want to finish up here, but last point for tonight, one other thing to consider for you. Be smart, be the show for the thinking Mexican, the thinking American. The midterms are less than 100 days away. And the leadership of Iran is well aware of that. And you would be stupid to think that they are not only aware of our political timeline, but Donald Trump's political timeline. And they are aware that he wants to cut a deal. I mean, Donald Trump can literally give the United States to Iran, and he would come back and tell his MAGA cult that we won the war. Literally. And for the record, I'm not far off because he's already said we won the war, right? His own words. But I want you to be real clear here as we finish up tonight. Iran is super aware of it. Iran is hyper cognizant of our political situation and the midterms coming. And they are fully aware, fully understanding in their strategy that Donald Trump needs to end this war before we get to the midterms, or that he's going to want to. He's already tried. And they basically laughed his ass out of the room and didn't listen to him, and they threw strikes. They're playing him, bottom line. And we need to be careful as a country that Donald Trump doesn't just cut a deal that is not good for the United States. It'll probably end up even hurting us financially or in some other form, if not perception on a world stage, by the way, because that's already shot. But he is going to have to try to cut a deal. And that deal is not going to be good for the United States. It's going to be bad. And he's going to come back and sell it like a con man, like a cheap-ass realtor, to the United States and its people. And his cult following will eat it up because they eat up all the shit that he spreads to them. And they like it. They ask for salt and pepper, but they still eat it. But be mindful that the leadership in Iran is aware of our political timeline. And they are aware that he wants to get this thing done and over with. And that is bad for us. So put that into your framework, into your mindset, and calculate out that the decisions that are going to be made are with the backdrop that the midterms elections are around the corner and the Republican Party is going to get ass blasted like they haven't been in a long, long time if things keep going down this road the way they are right now. And I am genuinely concerned that Donald Trump will try to cut a deal no matter what, even if it's bad for the American people, if it's bad for our soldiers. He will do it just to say he got it done and then turn around and sell it to his cult because he know they'll eat it up no matter what. Again, literally, he could sell the United States to Iran and he would tell his cult that it's a good deal and they would say, yes, please give me some more. I love that shit, Taco. Give me a little bit of salsa, I'm good to go. That is what they'll say. So again, last point for the night, be mindful of the backdrop of the midterm elections coming up and what this means for this war. I think it's bad for us. I think it's going to be bad because the people in Iran, the Iranian leadership, they know that he has to cut a deal. As always, as I said at the top of the hour, at the top of the show, have a good weekend. Spend time with your loved ones. Don't miss the time that matters to you with the people that care for you and that you care for. We'll be back Wednesday and Thursday of next week. And keep your sharp eye, keep your sharp ear on the stuff that's going to go on this weekend. Maybe we'll talk about it next Wednesday. But as always, be careful, be mindful, and spend some time with your loved ones and the people that care for you. Number love for you. We'll be back next week.